today. I am so glad that you are here with me today so that we can say good morning to God and learn more about His story. Last week, we learned that we are in the season of Advent, and Advent is just another way of saying waiting. We are in a season of waiting, and we are waiting for the birth of Jesus. We're waiting for Jesus' birthday. Now, in the church calendar, Advent is the beginning of the church calendar. So last week was New Year's Day here in the church calendar. So today is the second week of Advent, which means that we are on the second week of the church calendar. Crazy, right? So January 1st, we are not going to let go. Woo! Happy New Year! We should have done that last week. But anyway, so last week we read a story called Be Ready. And Be Ready was Jesus telling the disciples about when the temple was going to fall. But what? Aren't we in the season of waiting for Jesus to be born? Right? It's a little confusing. Either way, the lectionary said that's what we're going to read, and this is what it's going to tell us. It was telling us to be ready. And in the season of waiting for Jesus' birth, well, what else is there to do but be ready? We are needing to get ourselves ready. If we were here at church, we would be getting the church ready by changing the paraments and adding things like candles and greenery and those really cool Christmas. I love those. And then poinsettias. But we're not going to do that here this year because of COVID. But guess what you can do at home? You can prepare your house. That's right. You can put up Christmas trees, or you can make your own ornaments, or you can put up greenery and lights and all sorts of things to help prepare yourself and your family and your house for Jesus' birth. Before we get ready for our scripture this morning, well, let's say good morning to God. And since we did not say good morning to God by saying Happy New Year last week, because I forgot to, I think we need to say Happy New Year, good morning, God, this time. You ready? On the count of 3, we're going to say Happy New Year and good morning to God. 1, 2, 3. Awesome job! Way to go, guys. Happy New Year and good morning, God. Okay, so our scripture last week was telling us to be ready. Now, the weird thing about our scripture for this week is the titles of our scripture are not in our Spark Story Bible. So we're going to piecemeal it together because there are 2 stories within our Bible that are going to help us for this week and next week, because neither of them are in our Spark Story Bible, or at least not the one I have. So I'm going to help you guys figure this out after you go hang out with Mr. Bruce. Take it away, Mr. Bruce.
Hi, friends. So Advent is all about waiting. So we're going to sing a song called Wait for the Lord. It's very simple. You sing, wait for the Lord, whose day is near. Wait for the Lord, be strong, take heart. Okay? Here's the first part. Wait for the Lord, whose day is near. You sing it. Wait for the Lord, whose day is near. And then the second part. Wait for the Lord, be strong, take heart. Sing that with me. Wait for the Lord, be strong, take heart. Let's put it all together. Wait for the Lord, whose day is near. Wait for the Lord,
the Spark Lectionary is the one that we use because we use the Spark Story Bible. In the Spark Lectionary for today, the second Sunday in Advent, also the second Sunday of the year, the scripture's name is John the Baptist Prepares the Way. Okay. And then next week it is John Proclaims the Coming of Jesus. Okay. Now, if you look up the scripture in the actual Big Kid Bible, in the Adult Bible, it has two different stories. But in our Spark Bible on page 236, which is where it talks about John the Baptist, right here, John the Baptist, if we go all the way back to the table of contents and we look up John the Baptist, which we're going to do right here. It's right here. Do you see beside it, right here, how many different scriptures are listed? There's a bunch of different scriptures listed. So this story in our Spark Story Bible is made up of a bunch of different ones. In fact, it is made up of Matthew 11, verses 2 through 11, Mark 1, verses 1 through 8, Luke 3, verses 1 through 18, John 1, 6 through 8, and 19 through 28. That's a lot. Like if we got out the big Bible with all those words, we'd be reading. Y'all be like, I gotta go get a drink. I'll be back. I need some pop the popcorn. Oh, it's time for dinner. We'd be reading for a long time. So today what we're gonna do is we're gonna figure out who John the Baptist is, and then we're gonna read a little bit about John the Baptist. And then next week, we're gonna figure out more about John the Baptist and how he is going to proclaim Jesus is coming. Okay, so what we are going to do is find Zechariah, and it is on page 208. Okay, now you're thinking, Leigh Anna, what are you doing? Why are we talking about Zechariah? Well, here's why. Because Zechariah is John the Baptist's dad, and Elizabeth is John the Baptist's mom, but also Elizabeth is Mary's sister. And Mary is the mother of who? Jesus, that's right. All right, so we are going to read about Zechariah and Elizabeth first. And then we're going to do a little bit of learning about John the Baptist today. So on page 208, Zechariah. When their baby boy was just 8 days old, Elizabeth and her husband Zechariah took the baby to the temple. It was time to give the baby a name. They chose the name John. Shh, Elizabeth said, baby John is sleeping. But Zechariah couldn't keep quiet. Even if John was sleeping, Zechariah had to share the words God gave him with all the people in the temple. So he was like, I don't care. We'll wake the baby up. I got things to say because God has told me what to say. All right, so he is like, here we go. All right, so Zechariah was so excited that he sang the good news from God. Zechariah's song told about two babies, John and Jesus. First, Zechariah sang about Jesus. Jesus is coming. Jesus will bring a new beginning. Jesus will turn enemies into friends. Jesus will give us the courage to do good things. Suddenly, baby John woke up and began to fuss. He was probably like, Dad, I was sleeping and you woke me up. Elizabeth probably wasn't very happy with him. So then Zechariah sang about John. You, John, will be a special friend of Jesus. You will help people get ready for Jesus by baptizing them. You will even baptize Jesus someday. You will share the news far and wide that Jesus will come to help us and care for us. Zechariah's song acted as a lullaby for his son. Soon John fell back asleep. He dreamed of days that were ahead. "Shh," Elizabeth said. "Baby John is sleeping. It's time to take him home." So Elizabeth and Zechariah took sleeping baby John back home. Now, pretty cool little tidbit that I'm going to tell you. So when Mary went to tell Elizabeth about being pregnant with Jesus, Elizabeth already knew. She said she could feel John dancing in her stomach. She knew before Mary ever got there that Jesus was coming and that he would be special. We learned about that earlier on in where the scripture right before the one we just read called When Mary Visits Elizabeth. And Elizabeth was like, "I know, my baby was dancing." And I just knew. I knew you were with child and that he is going to be special. All right, so we just finished on page 210, and we read about Zechariah being so excited that he had to tell the words that God had given him. And it was about Jesus and John and how they were going to work together. But John was going to prepare the way for Jesus. Now, I'm going to skip on over to page 234. Where it is about John the Baptist. We're only going to read a little bit of this week because we're going to read a little bit about who John became in those years. So John wasn't much older than Jesus, but he was doing things a little different than Jesus was. Okay? John the Baptist. John was an unusual man. He had lots of hair, lots of hair, and a long beard. I can't really do a beard with my hair. Like this. Long beard. His clothes looked like his face. They too were furry and hairy. I thankfully don't have hairy clothes unless it's my own hair or my dog's hair. His clothes were made of camel's hair, held together with a leather belt. John ate strange food, including wild honey and locust, which is a kind of a grasshopper. Yuck! Oh my goodness. God gave John an important job, and his job was to tell people that Jesus was coming to help them get ready to believe what Jesus would teach them. John knew that things that Jesus would tell the people were the most important things in the world. Now that is where we are stopping for today. That's a lot to take in, right? So we know that this week, our Spark Lectionary is telling us that John was sent to prepare the way. Okay, so he is preparing the way for Jesus. But who told the people about John preparing the way for Jesus first? It was Zechariah. So maybe this week we should have just read about Zechariah and not really even worried about John. Well, the big grown-up John with all the hair and the eating the bugs and Oh, anyway. But John kind of lived out in the wilderness and he kind of just did his own thing because honestly, he's been telling these people for a long time, like, Jesus is coming and he is going to save you and it is going to be the greatest thing ever. And everybody's looking around like, who is he talking about? Like, who is this man that is supposed to come and save us? They were all like, but was John cuckoo? Was he like, no, he wasn't. He was doing the work of God. He knew that Jesus was coming and that he was doing his job, which was preparing the way for Jesus. I hope you guys have a great week waiting, and I will see you next week on the third week of Advent. I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.